Good morning. I wanted to just wake up this morning and talk about being authentically you. So this morning, this is not my best look. I have still maintained in my PJs, just relaxing and meditating and just thinking about what does it mean to be created in the image of God. Genesis 1:26 and 27 talks about us being created in the image of God. And just being okay about being me. One of the things I think most women struggle with, and I have too in the past, is that insecurity and inadequacy and worthlessness and all the things that we struggle with as women, just as people in general, based on what happened to us as children, based on some of the core beliefs that we have. If you grew up without a father, without a mother, those just send volumes of children's inner core beliefs that I must be unworthy, I must be worthless, I must be invaluable because mom or dad hasn't been there, they abandoned me, they died or whatever. Or if you grew up with somebody who was an alcoholic and addict and couldn't be in the home, um, or if you've been molested, childhood sexual trauma, and someone touched you, it's really hard to believe that you're somebody, particularly if it's a family member closer to mother, father, sister, brother, sibling. But just thinking about all the images that we struggle with and all the lack of positive self images that we have of ourselves. And so this video is just to encourage you to be authentically you. As I just share some of my struggles about being authentically me. I grew up, my father wasn't in the home, got blessed with stepdad. Mom was struggling with her addiction and alcoholism, and I grew up feeling invisible in a house full of 10, five brothers and sisters who were from my stepdad, and then my mom's five, and we grew up, and I was the youngest actually of the five, and I grew up feeling invisible. I grew up feeling like I didn't have a lot of negative words spoken. I didn't have any words spoken, and so I grew up feeling a sense of insignificance, feeling a sense of being unvalued, feeling a sense of worthlessness, kind of being pushed and forced onto my older siblings who resented it. And for a long time, even at 5 years old, I recognized something's wrong with this picture. Hmm. I didn't feel in and I didn't feel connected and I didn't feel loved. This is my story. This is my truth. I didn't feel love growing up. And so, having all of that and coming into adulthood, getting married and being in relationships, I realized maybe I'm 58 now, maybe about 27, 28, after my mom was killed in a car accident when I was 19, I realized that I need to do some work because I too had become an alcoholic and addict. Working, struggling, single parent, off and on, married, off and on. But during my earlier days, I was struggling with alcoholism and abandonment and the grief from my loss from my mom, and I was a wreck. I was a mess. I drank and drugged just to not be in pain, just not to deal with the childhood issues, just not to deal with my mom at 19 dying and suddenly in a car accident, not to deal with my dad really wasn't in my life, but I embraced Daddy Bo, who was my stepfather, by the way, who loved me, who adopted me, who made me taught me what I needed to know and some of the things I did. But when I began to journal and began to write and began to go to school to be a counselor, I recognized that I had some serious abandonment issues. And so, deliberately, intentionally not making the face makeup and the clothes and the hair and all the things we do to make ourselves look better as women, I decided to do a video first thing in the morning, authentically me, and my wake up look. And so I want to encourage you if you are struggling and knowing who you are. And one of the things I know about sexual trauma, it erases your real identity. You come into a place where you've been uh, fixated and been told and been manipulated and lost your control and your power by someone taking advantage of you. And it kind of distorts your own personal image and doesn't leave you almost with the empty slate of who you are. And then if you're dealing with the abandonment issue, it also erases the slate of who am I? The father brings a level of identity, protection, and purpose to a child, an inheritance. The mother brings the teaching piece. And so when those pieces are missing, we grow up in lack. I call them unmet needs, and I do a lot about with unmet needs, looking at the needs in your life that were not fulfilled as a child, and then understanding some of your pathology of why we do what we do and feel like we feel and become who we become. So I just want to encourage you. It's hard to know who you are when you've been told who you're not. And so some of the lies we have to combat is the lies about who we're not. And then some of the ways we cope is overcompensating perfectionism, OCD, mental illness, addiction, and some of the things we do to make ourselves feel better by the outward appearance. Wanting to be wanting to be accepted, wanting to be welcome, wanting to be loved, wanting to be recognized and understood are some of the basic needs. And so what I found out was, as I struggled through my own identity and learning to who I am in Christ and my identity and who I am in Christ, one of the things I struggle with is, you say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me. Lie. And then we say, I don't care what people think about me. Lie. Because part of what we try to do is try to cover up on the outside by the way we look, by what we have, by the successes we own, and then not recognizing we become driven to grind and to do and to become and to have while the inside still lies empty. And so the journey I'm on now is to really undo the lies of my own life and the things I believe, and not to drive and to strive for perfection or strive to overcompensate for the outward purpose. And there's nothing wrong with wearing makeup and looking nice. It's just the intent and the motive behind why you have to do. Can you leave the house looking like this? Hair not done, ponytail, no makeup. Can you leave the house in your raggedy-ass clothes and sweatpants and go every place you would go if you were made up? Are you more image-driven? Are you more connected to people and what they think about you? Are you struggling with not knowing who you are? So some of those things are some of the things I address as a life coach, and some of the things I address in one of the women's empowerment workshops that I have here in Bedford, Ohio. But really, to come into being authentically you, you have to know that I am important, that I am significant. The other piece you have to know is, what have I been created for? What have I been created for? Am I created to continue struggle in the discomfort and pain and grief of my past and allow that to affect who I am? Or can I take and turn the things that I've struggled with in my past, or the things that have happened to me? The Romans 8:28, God works all things out together for the good of us, and he works them out so that we can understand that what we have suffered in, and he has comforted us, and those are the things he's given us to work on with other people to bring comfort to them. And so what I've learned and what drove me into counseling, or particularly pastoral counseling, was that I knew how it felt to hurt. I know how it feels to grieve. I know how it feels to lose. I know how it feels to be worthless. I know how it feels to be anxious. I know how it feels to be depressed. I know how it feels to not fit in. I know all of the negative things that I've encountered and how it has left me. But I also know what it feels like to be free, to be victorious, to understand that I am the righteousness in Christ Jesus, that my identity is not bent on where I came from, what happened to me, but my identity when I come into a relationship with Jesus Christ, now his identity becomes mine, and then I can take on his truth and really just kill every lie that I believed about myself. And it's really hard not to do it in a relationship with Jesus Christ, because self-help is self-help. Self-help doesn't touch the inner child that needs to be healed. It doesn't touch the pain and the trauma and the grief that goes on inside. And so I've been blessed. I've been blessed to have counselors. I've been blessed to have people who love me. I've been blessed to be reparented by people. I've been blessed to have people come into my life and see me, the real me, the me God has created me to be, and then help push me into, or love me into, that place and purpose. And so I do what I do because of that. I love like I love because of that. I trust like I trust because of that. And so I just wanted to give you a little clip into my life. My name is Christine Harrell. I am a life coach, pastoral counselor, and just good old-fashioned woman who loves God and who loves helping people. But really, I just wanted to share. Come to know you. Come to know you. Look in that mirror. And if you struggle looking at yourself longer than an hour or half an hour, there's an identity issue. If you struggle with hate, self-hatred, the way you look and where you live and where you view yourself, there is an issue. So be blessed.